Shalom, Israel. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Happy Sabbath. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh. And we do so by Hashem HaMashiach, Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. The lesson that I want to get into today, I'm going to try to see if I could not make it quick. I'm not going to rush through it, but I just wanted to be able to talk about or bring something up today about testimony. And testimony is a very important thing that we got to have, but it's not the testimony that we think. It's not the testimony that you see when you're going into your churches and, they ask you, hey, does anybody want to testify, or anybody want to, sing a song, or does anybody want to read a Bible scripture? You dig what I'm saying? The testimony is keeping the law, statutes, and commandments of God. That is the testimony. That is the only testimony that you should be having coming off your lips. You dig what I'm saying? So without further ado, I'm going to get into the lesson. I'm going to try to make it, decent, nice and short. And then I got a little video that I want to show you too, according to somebody's testimony. And it's a very heartbreaking because at the end of the day, this person was really looking for help. And a lot of times when you are testifying, if you are that type of person that's going to church and trying to testify to tell your story of what it is that you're going through, at the end of the day, these people are supposed to help you. But this is you admitting that I'm walking away, or I'm not into the law, statutes, and commandments of God, that these things are happening to me. And these people are supposed to let you know and tell you that this is the way that you got to walk in. You got to keep the laws. You dig what I'm saying? They're supposed to judge you right, not just leave you in your unrighteousness, just something to talk about. So we're going to get into the lesson real quick. I just got a few precepts that I wanted to go through, so that way you could be able to understand exactly what I'm saying. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 9 and verse 14. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 9 and verse 14. As near as thou canst, guess at thy neighbor, and consult with the wise. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 6 and verse 27. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 6 and verse 27. I have set thee for a tower and a fortress among my people, that thou mayest know and try their way. The first book of Corinthians, chapter 2 and verse 15. The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 2 and verse 15. But he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judge of no man. 1 Corinthians, chapter 3 and verse 13. Every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire. And the fire shall try every man's work of what sort it is. 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 7. First Peter chapter 1, verse 7, that the trial of your faith, being much more precious than of gold that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ. We're going to go to Job chapter 23 and verse 10. This is the book of Job, chapter 23 and verse 10. But he knoweth the way that I take. When he hath tried me, I shall come forth as gold. This is Matthew chapter 23, verse 23. It's the book of Matthew chapter 23, verse 23. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye pay tithe of mint and announce and coming, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye have done, and le- not have left the other undone. So, in other words, when God is letting you know, especially when he was talking, when Christ was talking, and letting the Pharisees know, woe unto you, destruction is going to come to those type of people, because they only care for just an offering. You want to come up to my church or to my pulpit, speak on my microphone, say something of what you're going through in your life, and after that, after everybody in the church say whatever it is that they want to say, after they sing their song, after they may read a Bible script, then they sit around the collection plate and collect your money, but don't help you. You dig what I'm saying? So Christ is letting it be known, woe unto you, because you omitted the weightier matters, the things that's very important. And the things that are important is the law. The next thing that's very important is judgment, because if a person is living in sin, you are supposed to judge them according to that sin. You're supposed to let them know these are the things that you're not supposed to be doing, and these are the righteous work that you should be doing, which is the law, statutes, and commandments, 613 of them. But a person may feel as though at the end of the day, why are you telling me to do the law? I just want you to tell me something smooth. Tell me that I'm doing okay. You dig what I'm saying? And then I'm willing to come back to your church every Sunday and give you some money. So this is, at the end of the day, this is what the pastors, this is what these priests, this is what the Sadducees back then, this is what these people are doing, even still to this day. They omit the weightier matters, which is judgment. Judgment is very important, because without judgment, a person cannot do the righteous things. A person would never do the righteous things. Why? Because at the end of the day, you're not judging them. You have a thing that's going around in a lot of people's minds. Oh, you can't judge me. But here it is. It says right here that the priests and the Pharisees were omitting the weightier matters, the important things in life, which is judgment. So who can judge you? You understand? So without further ado, I'm going to get into the lesson. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 36 and verse 15. Give testimony unto those that thou hast possessed from the beginning, and raise up prophets that have been in thy name. Reward them that wait for thee, and let thy prophets be found faithful. So, in other words, he was taking a group of people who was actually in sin and took them out of their sin, took them away from their lust, took them away from their desires, took them away from the worldly things, and decided to say the least, you are my chosen people. He told us who we was. You dig what I'm saying? He let us know that we the children of Israel, and there's been a duration of time that you've been forsaking my way. You've been forsaking my commandments. Now I want you to come back into my commandments. And not only do I want you to come back into my commandments, I'm going to raise you up as a prophet, and you're going to go to my people. You're going to go to them. You're going to be that tower of defense for them. And when you be that tower of defense, you're going to try their ways. If these people are walking in unrighteousness, they don't got their fringes on, they're not keeping the Sabbath day according to the time appointed that I gave them, you're supposed to correct them. You're supposed to let them know. I don't care if they come to you and say, oh, they get out my face. At the end of the day, you are still commanded to do these particular things. Don't worry about what they say or what they are not going to say. At the end of the day, if they don't keep my law, when that time of judgment comes, I'm going to deal with them. But it's those that's behind them that do want to hear it. They want to know the right ways. They want to actually do the right things according to my law, but nobody is teaching them. So I'm raising up prophets. I didn't say I'm raising up priests. I'm not raising up pastors. I'm raising up prophets. And you're going to be a prophet, and you're going to be that testimony and that living sacrifice towards me and towards them, and to declare to them to do the law. You dig what I'm saying? This is the only way we could get out of this, is if I testify to you the law, statutes, and commandments. Not, I went through a situation yesterday, my back was hurting, but then somehow, some way, God made me come to church today, and then I'm going to go back home after I pay this pastor, pay this priest, and I'm going to still be in pain. Nah, that's not what God is going to have you to do. All right? So we're going to go to Psalm chapter 78 and verse 5. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 78 and verse 5. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children. So here it is. Now, these is things that our forefathers were supposed to pass down to us. The law, the commandments, and the judgments. So we'll know exactly what to do, how not to sin, and how we could always be above other nations, right? This is what our fathers were supposed to be doing and passing down to us. Verse 6, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children. So we're supposed to get the law, statutes, and commandments. So the kids that's going to be born after our forefathers, we're going to know what to do. Then once we have children, they're going to know what to do. So each generation, nobody was going to be lacking to do the law, statutes, and commandments. Nobody should be going around in the church today saying, yo, I'm coming to come and testify of a thing that I'm doing wrong, and no judgment is being done. No judgment is being rectified. Only thing that's being rectified is give me $20, give me $10, $5 for you telling me your problems. How? Right? And this is a continued thing that's going on. Nobody is learning the law, statutes, and judgments. Nobody is learning how to please the Lord. Nobody is coming back into righteousness. It's still unrighteousness going in and out that building every Sunday, in and out that building, whether you're paying your tithes online or whatever. But this is crazy. You don't keep the law, statutes, and commandments, but yet paying tithes is part of an offering of Moses. So if you pay the tithes, then you're also supposed to keep the judgments and the laws. You're supposed to correct these people. You see them in their uncleanness. You see that this person has leprosy. You see that they're a leper. At the end of the day, correct them, judge them according to that. But nobody is doing that. Verse 7, that they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments. That's pretty straightforward. So that way we'll know exactly what to do. So we could keep the commandments. So we won't forsake the commandments. We won't even have to ask nobody what is the commandments. When you hear a prophet proclaiming the commandments out on the streets, on the highways and byways, on your corners, you won't even have to second guess what this person is saying. Why? Because you will actually be adding a word to it. Damn, you know what? He's right. I'm out here on the Sabbath day, breaking the Sabbath day, about to go spend money. He's right. Let me go ahead and get back right, because I know what God is talking about. I just didn't hear the commandments for so long of a time. I thought the commandments was done away with, but now I'm seeing prophets and they're talking about the commandments. I do understand the commandments. I know the commandments, but I thought it was done. Now, you know what? Let me get back home. Let me not go and shop. Let me stop what I'm doing and wait till after 6 o'clock. You dig what I'm saying? Verse 8, he might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that set not their heart aright, and whose spirit was not steadfast with God. So in order for us to, the reason or the purpose of judgment, and to correct our brothers and sisters and our elders, to remind them of the commandments, so that way we don't walk into the ways of our forefathers. That way we don't be stubborn and rebellious. We won't forget God. We won't say, you know what? I don't have to do these things. We won't even have to be having contentious arguments. Why? Because we're forsaking that rebellious act of what our forefathers have done and came back into the right way. Salakia. This is what God prescribed for us to do. You dig what I'm saying? So even when Christ came, Christ did a thing, right? Christ did a thing. Now watch this. We're going to go to Matthew chapter 8. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 8. And I'm going to start at verse 1. When he came down from the mountain, great multitudes followed him. And behold, there came a leper and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. And Jesus put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be thou clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus said unto him, See thou tell no man. So here it is. This man was a leper. He was in his uncleanness. He was unrighteousness. He had a rebellious heart. He was just like his forefathers. So because of this factor, during this time of the Jews, we was following Hellenist Greek fashions, eating pork, eating shrimp, doing things that was just unlawful according to the law. So Jesus having compassion and seeing this thing, at the end of the day, you believe in me this much because I'm in the flesh. At the end of the day, I'm going to stick my hand towards you and I'm going to heal you. I'm going to cleanse you, right? But there's a thing that you're supposed to do according to a person who has leprosy. And that's pertaining to the law. But what Jesus told him, don't go around and tell nobody. Don't go and say, I'm going to go around and preach the word and say, yo, listen, at the end of the day, I was unclean and now I'm clean. And this is what, no, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that at all. You dig what I'm saying? I don't want you to go from one person and just be telling a story, you getting the feedback, or, yo, let me tell you a story about what Jesus did for me one day when I was sick in here. I prayed to him, and then next thing you know, I was okay. Then 2 weeks later, I got sick again. But then no, at the end of the day, you're not going back and forth having a delegation on how you were sick, and then today you got cleaned, and then tomorrow you back to being dirty. Now, no, you're not doing that. Don't do that, right? Verse 4. And Jesus said unto him, See thou tell no man, but go thy way, show thyself to the priest, and offer the gift that Moses commanded. So if he's telling you to offer the gift that Moses commanded, according to this man having leprosy, that means that we have to follow a law, right? For a testimony unto them, to show them at the end of the day, look, you guys have me coming to the churches. You guys have me paying my tithes. You guys have me paying all of this, but you guys couldn't cleanse me of my leprosy. But this man just touched me. He didn't ask me for no money. He didn't ask me to do anything strange. Only thing this man did was touch me. So when you get touched, you're going to be touched by the law, statutes, and commandments and judgments. Why? Because when you're being judged, you feel as though, well, damn, you know what? I did this wrong according to God. I disrespected God. I talked down and I talked so proudly and so arrogantly against God. The man that fashioned me, the man that gave me life, the reason why I wake up in the morning, I talked against that man, right? So at the end of the day, you're going to feel something and think, to say the least, you know what, let me change my way. Not now, but right now, right? So let's go to according to the law of Moses on what you're supposed to do as far as the man that has leprosy. We're going to go to Leviticus chapter 13. This is the book of the law called Leviticus chapter 13 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, When a man shall have in the skin of his flesh a rising, a scab, or a bright spot, and it be in the skin of his flesh like the plague of leprosy, then he shall be brought unto Aaron the priest, or unto one of his sons the priest. Leprosy is something white, something that's actually noticeable. A bright spot, something that actually can be seen from at a distance. Also, unrighteousness, uncleanness. A person that's smoking weed. A person that's an alcoholic. You got this coming out of their pores. A person that's just unrighteous with God, period. A person that hates his brother. A person that despises his neighbor. A person that does not take care of their children. A person that beat on his wife. That's seen. This woman comes out with a black eye. So everybody knows at the end of the day, the husband is an abuser, right? A kid that does not have the proper clothing, he's not eating right. They already know that the father and the mother is neglecting this child. You can see these things, right? This is noticeable, right? Verse 3, And the priest shall look on the plague in the skin of the flesh, and when the hair and the plague is turned white, and the plague in sight be deeper than the skin of his flesh, it is a plague of leprosy. And the priest shall look on him and pronounce him unclean. But if the priest nowadays would look on the things and judge you according to the thing and say, yo, you unclean, you unright, these people is going to walk out of the church and not put no money in the collection plate. So they allow you to come in with your uncleanness. They allow you to be wicked. They allow you to just talk against God because you're going to pay. It don't matter to them. Only thing they care about is taking your money. That's it. Right? Verse 4. If the bright spot be white in the skin of his flesh, and the sight be not deeper than the skin, and the hair thereof be not turned white, then the priest shall shut him up that hath the plague 7 days. I'm going to read that line again. If the bright spot be white in the skin of his flesh, and the sight be not deeper in the skin. So if he has a bright spot, he has something that's noticeable. He may not be as deep as beating his children. Neglecting his children of food, of clothing. He may be taking care of his kids, but he's doing it at a distance. He still may hate he still may hate his ex-wife. He still may hate his baby mom. He still may want to do certain things to her. He may talk bad against her, right? He has something, just a little unrighteousness within him, right? Right? So because of this factor, it may not be that deep, but he just has some hatred a little bit. It's still something brewing within inside of him, right? So the priest still must judge this man, right? Even though it's not deep in the flesh, but it's still a brightness there. I can still see it in you. You digging what I'm saying? If the bright spot be white in the skin of his flesh, and sight be not deeper than the skin, and the hair thereof be not turned white, then the priest shall shut him up that hath the plague 7 days. And the priest shall look on him the 7th day, and behold, if the plague in his sight be a stay, and the plague spread not in the skin, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days more. So here it is. It's going to be hard for a man to actually get rid of his vengeance because he done brewed this up for so long over time. It's sitting on him, and it's certain things that he just can't get rid of yet. It might not be overnight. So it might take him, if it wasn't that week, wasn't that 7 days, he might have to go 14 days. You dig what I'm saying? He still might need to talk to. You know what I'm saying? You got to take that hatred out of your heart. A lot of people, when you come into talking to these people about the truth, especially keeping a Sabbath day, stop eating pork, stop eating shrimp. These people look at it to say the least, well, damn, you know what? I'm willing to, leave the pork alone, but that shrimp is my joint. I love the shrimp. I still got to come to you again. Another 7 days and preach to you, yo, listen, you got to leave that shrimp alone now. You did the first part good, leaving the pork, but now you got to leave the shrimp. You dig what I'm saying? Just as easy as it was for you to leave the pork, leave the shrimp too. You dig what I'm saying? So if the priest happened to see that he still has some uncleanness about him and it still stayed with him, at the end of the day, we got to talk to you some more, constantly build with you, You get what I'm saying? Verse 6, and the priest shall look on him again the 7th day, and behold, if the plague be somewhat dark, and the plague spread not in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is but a scab, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. He shall keep himself clean from all the unrighteousness of the things that he was doing. If now we see that at the end of the day, there's no bright spot there no more, but there is a spot. What happens when you happen to get a cut? At the end of the day, it's not just going to come back to your regular skin. No, you're going to get a scab now at this point. So now there's going to be a scab just because I see you got a scab there, because I think that, oh, you know what? You may not be eating no pork, no shrimp, no anything of that nature, but you might not be living on your own. What if you living with somebody and they have pork, they have shrimp? At the end of the day, it's nothing but a scab to that person. Now that person is going to try to admonish their neighbors, try to admonish the people that they're living with, talk to their wives, talk to them to let them know, yo, listen, these are the things that we got to come back to. But yet that person has a scab on him. It's not really leprosy. He came out of it. But the people that's around him is going to, be doing these unrighteous things. You dig what I'm saying? So they're considered scabs now at the end of the day. dig what I mean? Until he get them right. He got to make sure he gets them corrected. You dig what I mean? So he's still going to have a scab on him because according to his family members or his peoples that's behind him, the people that he's trying to love and take care of still. At the end of the day, he's going to forsake his natural unrighteousness. He's going to leave off that uncleanness. But the people that he's dealing with still might have that. So he just still has a scab on him until he could be able to eventually, and that grows off of him. You dig what I mean? A scab eventually will fall off. You don't want to pick at it. You just want to let it fall off. You dig what I'm saying? Go to Leviticus chapter 14. And this is the whole part of when Christ was letting it be known, go and as Moses commanded, this is the offering and the gift that you were supposed to give to the priests, right? Leviticus, the book of the law called Leviticus chapter 14, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, this shall be the law of the leper in the day of his cleansing. He shall be brought unto the priest. And the priest shall go forth out of the camp, and the priest shall look, and behold, if the plague of leprosy be healed in the leper, then shall the priest command to take for him that is to be cleansed 2 birds alive and clean, and cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop. Verse 5. And the priest shall command that one of the birds be killed in an earthen vessel over running water. Now, at the end of the day, you got to understand. Let me get a precept to this real quick. I had did this precept before, but it's such an important precept to be able to understand what he is talking about here. I don't want you to be confused. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 27 and verse 9. The birds will resort unto their like, so will truth return unto them that practice in her. Understand that here it is now, where he is letting you be known, you're going to take all of that badness, all of that wickedness out of this man, that evil spirit out of this man, right? You have to get rid of these things. But this is a bird that you're going to kill, right? This is that evil spirit that you're going to kill, that unrighteous, that uncleanness you're going to kill, right? Then you're going to have a clean bird. Now, this clean bird is going to be cleansed from all of the unfilthiness of the last bird. The bird that died, the bird that killed. You're not going to be looking back at that bird no more, right? Watch this. Verse 6. As for the living bird, he shall take it, and the cedar wood, and the scarlet, and the hyssop, and shall dip them in the living bird and the blood of the bird that was killed over the running water. And he shall sprinkle upon him that is to be cleansed from the leprosy 7 times, and shall pronounce him clean, and shall let the living bird loose into the open field. So now everybody's going to be able to see that this person who was once had leprosy, this person who was once dirty, this person who was once unclean, now is cleansed, right? He doesn't have no unrighteousness about him. And he's going to look back at those things, which was that bird that was killed, that bird that was sacrificed, to say to Alicia, you know what? I'm never going back to that, right? I don't want to go back to these things. Watch this. Verse 8. And he that is to be cleansed shall wash his clothes and shave off all his hair and wash himself in water, that he may be clean. And after that, he shall come into the camp and shall tarry abroad out of his tent 7 days. But it shall be on the 7th day that he shall shave all his hair off his head, and his beard, and his eyebrows, even all his hair he shall shave off. And he shall wash his clothes also. Also, he shall wash his flesh in water, and he shall be cleaned. And on the 8th day he shall take 2 he-lambs without blemish. This is the gift that he must bring. And on the 8th day, verse 10, and on the 8th day he shall take 2 he-lambs without blemish, and 1 ewe lamb of the first year without blemish. and 3/10 deal of fine flour for a meat offering, mingled with oil, and 1 log of oil. And the priest that maketh him clean shall present the man that is to be made clean, and those things before the Lord, at the tabernacle, at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So when this man is now, once he become clean and once he do these particular things, now you're making an offering to the Lord, because if it wasn't for the fact of God's law, there won't be no way you could be able to be clean from leprosy in the first place. So now they followed the law and did certain things according to the law, so this man could be cleansed from his leprosy. And after he was cleansed from his leprosy, you made an offering to God. So when he told that man that had leopard, that was a leopard, that was a leper, in Matthew chapter 8, verse 1 through 4, when he told him to go to the priest, you ain't gonna give me no offering, because I'm not God. I'm the Son of God. So you're going to go to the priest and show them. And once you show them, you're going to actually do the things that God actually commands you according to giving up a gift. Now, did the priest do it? Absolutely not. Because they looked at it and said, yo, that Jesus, he got to be a devil. He's not good. He is no way in the world he can be able to do these things. Right? So they didn't even believe in Christ. So because of this factor, that's the reason why he was doing this, to embarrass them, to show them at the end of the day, y'all not the priests of my people. Y'all not the pastors of my people, right? So I must do these things with my disciples. And once I raise up these disciples, they're going to be doing the work. Not you pastors, not you priests. And I'm going to start raising up prophets later on, and they're going to start doing my work. They're going to start doing healings. You dig what I'm saying? So I mean, it's really not hard to really understand exactly how you're supposed to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of God. But a man is always going to be enticed when he's trying to come out of his wickedness, and he's going to think, to say the least, well, I'm being tried, I'm being tested, right? So check this. This is the book of James. This is James chapter 1 and verse 13. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. So here it is. God is not going to take and see that it is already evil in the world, and I'm going to tempt you to make you do evil. No. Every man is not a prominent figure to God. If he sees that in your heart, you actually want to just sin continually, he's going to let you do that. But if he see that a man is just only sinning because of the peer pressure of the people that's around him, and he sees that, yo, this is the man that I want, when he takes this man is now a man of the Lord. And when he sees certain things, the things that he walked away from, he's going to be enticed, but he's not tempted of God. That's Satan that's tempting him to get you to come back into this way. And if this man is strong, he's steadfast into keeping the law, statutes, and commandments of God, he's not walking in that way, because he already know that that's the acts of Satan. No, if you hate anything that God hates, which is all unrighteousness, all uncleanness, then you're not walking in unrighteousness. You're not walking in uncleanness. You dig what I'm saying? Let me get a precept to that, Sirach chapter 7. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 7 and verse 16. Number not thyself among the multitude of sinners, but remember that wrath will not tarry long. So you're not sitting up under sinners. You're not around of sinners. You're not mingling with them. Now, it's not to say the least that you can't go around these people and try to admonish these sinners, tell these people about their wicked ways according to their unrighteous deeds, according to them not following the law, statutes, and commandments of God. Yes, you would be a prophet and you would be going to proclaim that these people must keep the law, statutes, and commandments. But you're not going to sit here and say, after I done did these things, now let me go to a party. Let me go to a dinner that actually these people is making nothing but pork, and let me get ahead and eat some of it because this is the only thing that's there. Nah, you're not doing that, right? You're not doing that at all, because technically, if you know that you don't eat pork, you're not even mingling around nobody or living around nobody that actually is doing these particular things, right? It may be a situation that you can't help, but if you mean to tell me if you're living with somebody and they happen to eat pork, but you don't eat pork, and it just so happened there wasn't nothing else in the house, and that was the only thing that there was to eat, you just ate the pork, and you said as though, well, because God tempted me or God gave me the opportunity to eat this? Absolutely not. So that's with any type of unrighteousness. You're not going to be dealing and mingling with these people at all if you see that they're just I mean, I'm just out there just wanting to do wicked. Right? I don't care for the law. You're not going to mingle with these people because you already know when the wrath comes on these people, God is going to destroy these people without a thought. And if you're hanging around with them, you're going to get destroyed too. Right? James chapter 1 and verse 14. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Yes, these was things that we used to love to do. We used to love smoking weed. We used to love eating shrimp. We used to love eating fried ribs, right? We used to love these particular things. You used to love going to the clubs. You used to love dealing with harlots. Because you used to love these things are still going to be there. You're still going to see your brothers and sisters doing it, and you're still going to have this in your eyesight. Doesn't mean that God is actually tempting you to go and do these things, or you get to do these things whenever you want. No, at the end of the day, you're going to see these things and you're going to be drawn to do these things. And you're going to that's the fight that you got to keep up. And when you fight at this thing, you're going to prevail. You're going to win, right? You're going to win. You're going to be able to escape these things because you see exactly now what you're trying to do. I'm trying to keep the law, and I know I'm not supposed to do these unrighteous acts, but yeah, I'm being enticed. Okay, I'm going to count this all as a glory because now I know that I could beat this thing and I know God got me, right? I know I could fight this temptation. I know God got me. I know I'm being enticed right now, but I know God got me, right? Let me go to Sirach chapter 18. This is the book of Sirach chapter 18, verse 30. Go not after thy lust, but refrain thyself from thine appetites. If thou givest thy soul the desires that please her, she will make thee a laughing stock to thine enemies that malign thee. So you will have people that actually will see that, okay, you're trying to keep the law, statutes, and the commandments. Let me actually, entice him. You'll even have your own brothers and sisters. Your own family members would entice you, right? So because of this factor, you got to fight that. You got to fight that because these people are trying to line you up. They don't keep the law, statutes, and commandments of God. They don't want you to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of God. You got to fight, right? What does it say? Verse 32. Take no pleasure in much good cheer, neither be tied to the expense thereof. A lot of times we want to have fun. We want to be able to enjoy ourselves, and we want to be next to people. We want to be connected with people. You want to be loved by people. But understand is that you might be tied to an expense just so you could be able to be loved. You're going to be enticed. Then you're going to take and say, you know what? Because your flesh is so weak, but your spirit is willing, but your flesh is the most weakest thing. So you might give into something. You might say, you know what, I'm going to get ahead and take advantage of this, and I know God's going to forgive me. At the end of the day, that's not how this works. You dig what I'm saying? You got to fight. You got to stay steadfast in this. This is a very important thing that we got to do. Dig what I'm saying? So there was a thing that I wanted to show you real quick. Here it is. When God actually tells us to, keep the testimony, we got to keep the testimony of the law, the commandments. And it's very important. And then when we go to these I wanted to say something else. God, forgive me. At the end of the day, we go to these pastors, we go to these priests. These people don't give us the thing that we're supposed to get. I want you to check this video out.
Hi, my name is Tanya Mancy, and I'm a backslider. Y'all pray for me. Bible said only the fool makes a mock out of God. He's nothing to be played with. And fools and heart says there's no God, but God is real. I just come home drunk from school, laying up with men, out there prostituting, having all sex in my mouth, licking these balls. Amen. Remember you in prayer. Anyone else have a word from the Lord, a testimony of God's goodness? This is my mouth.
Now, you see what I'm talking about? At the end of the day, what this woman was letting it be known was that at the end of the day, I know that God is good and I know that God is real, but I'm struggling. I do a little school. After school, I come home. I get drunk. After I get drunk, I have sex with men, and I'm doing all kind of strange things. I'm prostituting myself just to get some money, right? I'm having sick, and she's really, she's crying because her thing is like, I'm sick of doing what I'm doing, and she's trying to seek help, but she's telling all of the things and expressing the things that I'm doing for this money. The things, the reason why I'm doing it is because I'm drunk, right? And I know I'm wrong for it. What can I do? And the man just took the mic away from her and gave it back to the pastor. And now the pastor is a woman, first and foremost. God suffers no woman to preach. No woman to be a pastor, right? You want to learn, or you want to be able to talk, you talk in the secrecy of your husband, right? But according to that factor, here it is, the pastor woman took the mic and says, okay, does anybody else have something good from the Lord that they want to say, just like her? That's a good thing from the Lord? No, that's actually showing you as a pastor, yo, the people need help. And this woman is looking to seek help, and yet you didn't even let her finish her testimony, let alone if this was her testimony. And to be able to say the least, yo, listen, we're going to help you. We're going to guide you. You digging what I'm saying? What it is that you need to get done. First and foremost, we're going to try to put you in some type of alcohol program so you can be able to be helped. You ain't got to drink alcohol no more. We're going to be able to help you out with your school if that's what you're doing. We're not going to, you're not going to be out there prostituting. Maybe we could give you some service in here in a church. You could be able to do something of that matter. But yet, you just let this woman just embarrass herself in front of a whole congregation. She just told you what is this she's going through, and yet you didn't even give her no help. Now, after they did all of this, they passed around the collection plate and took an offering. Now, this woman is going to give you the offering from her prostituting from that night, just so she could be able to, because she thought, I can come here. If I have to pay a little money just to get some help, I'm willing to. And they didn't even help that lady. And I thought that was just so sad. So you got to understand that your testimony of, doing these things, what this lady was doing, is not really going to matter, because guess what? You're going to go right back to that unrighteous thing. You can testify today about something that you know was wrong. You know that God is real. You know that, his love is everlasting. You can say that all you want. You can say Jesus, 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 all you want. But if you're going to go back to your unrighteousness, guess what? You just did all of that for nothing. And again, John chapter 9, verse 31, God does not hear sinners, but people that do the will of the Father. So because of this factor now, if you're going to continue to sin, but thinking you could just pray, you could pray over pork, you could pray over your seafood, you could be able to pray and still have sex, unrighteous sex, be a prostitute, right? Be a murderer of your brother, right? All of these things, if you're going to continue to do these things and live this type of lifestyle, God is not listening to you. But if you're willing to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments of God, if you're willing to allow some of the prophets that's out here to give you the law, statutes, and commandments of God, show you the right way to walk into, maybe he'll have some mercy on you, right? Like Sirach 9:14 said, guess at thy neighbor. When you guess at him, then you could kind of figure out, okay, how can I be able to judge my neighbor according to this? You might have to consult with the wise people that actually dealt with that situation before. And then you could be able to say, okay, yo, let me come to my brother, let me come to my sister, and let me talk to her. You prostituting? Nah, this is the way you got to go, and sis. Forsake that way, come into this way. I got you, I'm willing to help you. These people ain't even do that. And this is what these funky churches do right now. These funky Christians don't help us at all. They just want to talk a good game. Want to testify a whole bunch of things that's not even important. Not about the law, no, none of that. You're supposed to be testifying according to the law, statutes, and commandments of God. Keeping them. Shalom, Israel.